The history of Stargate is a complicated one as far as the franchise goes because of the way that the rights sort of linger in forever hell and then get passed around as various bits and pieces of MGM and et cetera get sold off and purchased and sold off again. And it's a chaotic mess, is what it is. But unfortunately, and this is a little bit older now, the news, but I'm just coming across it now. This was from earlier in November. Says that Brad Wright says his new Stargate pilot is probably dead. Um, Going on to say that his idea for a fourth live action series would have been fun. But the thing that I have about that is every time I hear some sort of rumor about Stargate, it's always like, yeah, it would have been fun, but it always falls flat. And this franchise hasn't seemed to have gone anywhere since Stargate Universe went off the air, which in my mind was an unfortunate event when that show finally died because I thought it was taking Stargate in a new direction, but unfortunately, it seems like at the point in time that it was airing, audiences weren't ready to go in that direction. They were still stuck in either Stargate SG-1 or Stargate Atlantis, or it could have just been a wrong place, wrong time sort of scenario. I also feel like Stargate, even though it does have a lot of potential, it's also one of those franchises that, whether we want to admit it or not, is probably ripe for a reboot to sort of get it past, the earlier iterations that are sort of firmly stuck in that campy late 90s, early 2000s sort of, sci-fi channel vibe. And, let's bring it back and make it sort of prestige science fiction. I don't know if that's possible or not, but with the rights where they are right now and Amazon having gone through with the purchase and everything else, it's the sky's the limit in terms of where Stargate could potentially go. But I think it needs to move beyond, all due respect, Brad Wright and on to other places. I don't know. It could be that he can still make something happen, but it's interesting. The article here over on Gate World talks about how Brad Wright was currently speaking as of the beginning of November, which is about a month ago, of the new series, the past tense, stating that the pilot script is likely destined to gather dust. He commented on the state of the script on social media, giving strong indication that he hasn't been involved in any active talks with Stargate's new owners. He was the one, obviously, who shepherded the franchise over the course of 14 years and 17 seasons, co-creating Stargate SG-1 with John Glassner, and both Stargate Atlantis and Stargate Universe with Robert C. Cooper. He was brought in to develop a new Stargate project in late 2018, but by the spring of 2020, he had a pilot script ready for a fourth live-action television series, which says here it would have contributed to the existing canon and introduced a new team, while also providing ample opportunity for actors from previous incarnations to make guest appearances. And that's where I kind of feel like we lose the plot because they seem to be stuck in the past. By the way, I apologize for that white glare right there. It's because I have dark mode on and it doesn't like that section of the website apparently because it's a Twitter or something. Anyway, I feel like this is stuck in the past because every time they try to do a new Stargate show, it seems like they want to try to bring back the old actors. And don't get me wrong, I love Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis, and I love seeing these characters come back and do things related to those franchises. But we've also moved on. When did Stargate? What did they say? Universe was 2009. I mean, we're talking 15 years that we've not quite, but getting close to there of things being off the air. And most of these actors have moved on. They're doing other things. Um, some of them have passed. I feel like if we're gonna do anything with Stargate franchise, it's time to just do something new with the Stargate franchise. I don't know if there's enough interest there or not. It says that when he got the script done, he was preparing with the MGM team to begin pitching the project and find a home with a broadcaster streaming partner. And then the onset of COVID-19 hit and brought everything to a screeching halt. Says he then set to work on refining his script during the shutdown, but by the spring of 2021, MGM had announced that it was selling its entire studio and all its assets to Amazon. Amazon then completed its $8.45 billion acquisition of MGM in the spring of 2022, and fans of the current canon had one remaining hope that the studio would see Wright's script as low hanging fruit, a likely hit that was ready to greenlight from one of the TV franchise's original creators. I just don't see that though. And it seems here that he says In response to a fan inquiry about a possible new series, he wrote, "You won't hear the news from me. MJF did hire me to write a pilot for a new show, but that was just where COVID hit. Timing couldn't have been much worse. All the players have changed in the interim, so it's likely Destined to Gather Dust. Would have been fun, though." The question here is that are Amazon and MGM going to do anything with the Stargate franchise? Um, it's been more than 10 years after SGU went off the air. It's ripe for revisiting, and in the current era of mass proliferation of streaming services, it's pretty surprising that it hasn't happened already. Wright says he's confident that the studio will do something with Stargate, even if it isn't under his proposed idea sets. Thanks to everyone who's been asking MGM and Amazon to bring Stargate back. He tweeted on SG1's 25th anniversary in July with amazing fans like all of you. I'm pretty sure they will. He wrote on Twitter then, they will make another Stargate. It may just take from time to them to decide what they want to do, but they own it, not me. That's important to understand is that they own it, not Brad. But MGM had brought him in because he had been previously attached to it. I think that having Brad Wright attached as some sort of a consultant is probably a good thing. But I honestly would like to see new blood. I, for one, want to see something new. Let's look at something because I can't remember the name of it. It was this horrific web series that came out. Was it Origins? Yeah, it was Origins. This was quite possibly one of the worst things I have ever seen ever in like the history of all the things I've ever seen. It was executive produced by Mercedes Bryce Morgan. Production companies were MGM Television, New Form, and United Artists Digital Studios. I can't believe that anybody actually put money into this. If you didn't watch this, um, it was just honestly, it was one of the worst things I've ever seen on television. It was so bad. And this is when I kind of looked at Stargate and said, if that's the future of the franchise, it needs to stay dead. Because that's the kind of stuff that when you put that out and it's officially labeled as Stargate like material, it literally looked and felt like a college level, like, we're going to put this together to enter into a film festival because it's our very first attempt at ever making a film ever. It was that level of bad. Not just bad writing, but bad writing, bad acting, bad production quality, bad special effects. It was just bad. And web series don't have to be bad. I've seen some decent uh, web series over the years, but just it was bad. It was really bad. I can't get over how bad it was. Um, so the three possible scenarios they suggest here is that they bring on Brad Wright, revive the script. Second possibility is to seek out new creatives to pitch a new direction. Um, dun, dun, dun. This was MGM's short-lived plan in 2014 when original Stargate feature film creators Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin were given the go-ahead to produce the first in a planned trilogy of movies. And then after some creative differences, it was declared dead in 2016. And third and finally, if they're not interested in producing the 2020 script, will want to dance with the one that Brun reassures Stargate fans that it's in good hands. They could ask Wright himself to pitch something different. You know, I personally think that we need something different. I would love to see a more adult version of Stargate. Because to date we've gotten, I mean, the first couple seasons of Stargate SG-1 were more adult oriented on Showtime back in the day. We had nudity, we had more violence, we had some language, and then I got very tame for the Sci-Fi Channel, and it became very campy on the Sci-Fi Channel. I would love to see it go back to its grittier science fiction roots and give us something more. Like, I don't have a problem with the gold storyline and some of the craziness with the Egyptian gods. I think that was a great focus for the early parts of Stargate SG-1. But I would be up for a reboot as opposed to a continuation of existing canon, because I just think that we've already seen a great version of the show. I kind of look at it like, um, well, I mean, I guess there's not really anything I can compare it to off the top of my head. That was a bad example that I was thinking of. Because if you think about, the way they did Star Trek, it was always a new show that sort of built off of the canon from the existing show, and that was okay for a lot of years. But I like where they've gone with the new shows on a personal level, where they've branched off and sort of left all the old stuff in the past with like Discovery, and they have their own version now. Whereas Picard is dipping back in, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I like Picard. I think Picard is a much better. Like I love the fact that we got cursing and language and sex and violence. It's an adult version of Star Trek, and I really would like to see an adult version of Stargate. Not a campy kids family show, but an adult version where we've got, you know, realism. But that's just me. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the franchise? Where do you think it should go? So on and so forth. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Like, subscribe, hit that bell icon, support with a super thanks or membership or beyond. Don't forget the Patreon page. I'll see you all in the next episode. Cheers.